Welcome to the Ask the Experts podcast. Here's Curran Bhatia.
I am Curran Bhatia. This is Ask the Experts. We've got a jam-packed show, so let's get into who we are talking to. We're getting you prepared for the January 25th card. It's on Showtime, and we have you covered. So, we know the main event is Danny Garcia versus Ivan Redkach. That was originally supposed to be Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence. Errol Spence was in the car accident. The latest reports is that he's back in training. He's going to be back later this year, but that left Danny Garcia without a dance partner. Enter Ivan Redkach. So, first of all, I'll be speaking to Angel Garcia. That is Danny Garcia's father and his trainer. Angel Garcia is very outspoken. He always has a lot to say, and I'll be chatting with him. Next, I'll be chatting with Steven Espinoza. He's the president of Showtime Boxing. I'm going to talk to him about what's on their schedule, looking ahead at 2020, and what's going on in their world in Showtime. As I said, this January 25th fight is on Showtime. The main event, like I said, Danny Garcia versus Ivan Redkach. So who else better to speak to than Ivan Redkach himself? I'll be talking to Mr. Redkach. He has 4 losses on the record, but he's actually 3-0 in his last 3 fights. He's won by knockout in his last 2 fights. If you remember his last fight in June, he actually knocked out Devin Alexander. So Ivan Redkach, he's on the come up, and he has his opportunity to play massive spoiler to put a big dent in the welterweight division and make a statement against Danny Garcia. So I'm going to ask him if he thinks he will be able to do that. Then next, also on that January 25th card, another fighter that you probably maybe have not heard of, but you will hear of, and that is Stephen Fulton. So who is Stephen Fulton? He's 17-0 with 8 knockouts. He's from Philadelphia, just 25 years old. He goes by Cool Boy Steph. And he has an opportunity here at Barclays Center on January 25th. His opponent's 16-0, and he has an opportunity to make a statement on a national stage. He's going to be on Showtime. He's going to be introduced to a new audience. He is going to have an opportunity to make a splash, and I'm going to ask him how he plans to do that. And then my final guest, it's the trainer of one of the fighters on this same card. So on this card is Francisco Santana. He's fighting Jarrett Hurd. If you remember, this is Jarrett Hurd's comeback fight. We all know that he ended up losing. This is his comeback. He hasn't been in the ring since May of 2019 when he lost to Julian Williams. So this is a big fight for Jarrett Hurd. And the man he's facing is Francisco Santana. So I'll be talking to Coach Haas, a.k.a. Joseph Janik, who is Francisco Santana's trainer. I'm going to talk about the game plan. Obviously, the fact that Hurd is coming off a loss is something that they're going to want to capitalize on. Joseph Janik is also Andrew Cancillo's trainer. And if you remember, Andrew Cancillo, he lost his fight. He was dropped by his promoter. He's recently signed with Top Rank, but I'm going to get a little bit more information about what exactly happened there. So let's get to the first interview. He's outspoken, he's brash, he's the trainer of Danny Garcia, who's headlining at Barclays Center on Showtime on January 25th, and that is Angel Garcia. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Angel Garcia. I am Curran Bhatia, and let's ask the experts. This is Curran Bhatia. We're at Barclays Center. I'm here with Angel Garcia, father, trainer of Danny Garcia. So, Angel, we know that you guys were preparing for Errol Spence, but Spence was in a car accident. When you first heard the news about the car accident, what was going through your head?
Well, first thing I thought, I hope he's well, because he has children, he has family. So, I'm hoping he's well for his children. At the same time, I'm like, well, that's out the door. So, we got to move on. We can't wait for nobody.
And we know that the criticism that Danny gets online and stuff like that, they call him the cherry picker because they're not impressed with the opponents, right? He was ready to fight the best in the game in Errol Spence.
Well, he's been ready. He fought the best already at 40. And the thing is, they can say whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, they got to get in the ring with him if they want to call him names. Because everybody gets an easy opponent. Not easy because nobody's easy. Yeah. Everybody, when you fight for a living, it's not easy when you get punched in the face. The people that say that never fought in their life. So that's why they could say that, because they never got hit in the tip of the nose and got teary eyes. So when you could talk is cheap. When you got to prove it in the ring, that's a different page of your life. So they could say whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, we don't care about that.
And you've served as Danny's trainer, as advisor. Danny is usually a little bit more quiet in the background, and you've served as the mouthpiece. So how is it?
I'm his mascot. Yeah. I'm Crazy Angel, the mascot, the bird, man. No.
And so has that been a good dynamic between you two, because you're kind of out front talking to people and he can do his thing in the ring?
Yeah, but the thing, I mean, Danny could back it up, and then he told me one time, yo, Dad, you got to slow down, man, because, they're getting tougher. Because everybody's training the extra mile. But, no, I don't look at it. I look at it like it's boxing. And you can talk all you want as long as you don't get physical. As long as I don't touch nobody. And a lot of things I say, the fighter said it himself. So basically, I'm saying what you said. So I play reverse psychology. So whatever you said in the past will hunt you. That's why a man got to think before you speak.
And I've seen you get close to getting physical with people, but you've always stayed back from
at
that.
the end of the day, this is not about me. It's about Danny. So, I got to respect the sport, and I got to respect another man like myself. You just don't hit people in the face. It doesn't work like that. Because, people die over reasons like that. And I'm not. I just tell it, I just try to talk what you said. So basically, I'm saying what you said in the past. So it's hunting you. So don't get mad at me. Get mad at yourself.
In the past, we're about to get started on the press conference, so we'll wrap it up. Andrew Garcia, thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate you.
That was Angel Garcia talking to me at the press conference. As we said, Danny Garcia headlining versus Ivan Redkach. I'm going to be speaking to Ivan Redkach. But before that, I'm going to talk to Steven Espinoza, who is the head of Showtime Sports. Now, a lot was made about HBO exiting the boxing business, and people say maybe premium cable can't sustain boxing. Maybe they don't want boxing. And I'm going to ask Steven Espinoza about that. I also talked to him about being involved in some of the biggest events in the history of combat sports, and that includes Mayweather versus McGregor. Now, if you remember, McGregor definitely poked a lot of fun at Steven Espinoza. He made him a character in the build-up, and I wanted to know, was that real? Was that scripted? So that's another thing I'll be talking to Steven Espinoza about. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Steven Espinoza.
Curran Bhatia here at the Clarissa Shields Ivana Habazin press conference in New York City, and I'm here with the head of Showtime Sports, Steven Espinoza. So Showtime starting the year off strong with a big main event with Clarissa Shields. So what is Showtime 2020 boxing going to be like?
Well, it's going to start off really, really busy. We've got 7 shows in the next 8 weeks, a couple of championship shows, obviously the Clarissa Shields event this weekend, and several show boxes. So we went to a schedule a couple of years ago that was weighted a little bit more heavy when major sports are lighter, trying to avoid the fall, September, October, November, when college football and NFL dominates. So January, February, up through the NCAA tournament, it's prime time for boxing from our perspective. So we'll be very, very busy at the start of the year.
And we are obviously looking at the last decade, closing it out. And one big thing that happened in the last decade was HBO and its dominant position started to go down, and Showtime Sports and boxing actually rose up in terms of championship-level fights, the top fights. And you were very much responsible for that. So do you take pride in that when you look back at the last decade and what Showtime Sports has achieved, and I'm sure what it will continue to achieve?
Well, I absolutely do. The way I look at it is Showtime has nearly 35 years of history, going back to names like Mugabe and Hearns being the first event, all the way through the Tyson and Chavez days, more recently through the Vasquez Marquez, and of course Corrales Castillo. And to be able to make my contribution to that and bring something else to the table, add a name like Mayweather, some Canelo fights, some Wilder fights, and continue, I think, a really strong tradition is something personally that's meaningful to me.
And not only just some of the biggest fights, but the Mayweather contract, the 6-fight deal, which sent shockwaves through the industry, and then being involved in some of the biggest pay-per-views of all time. We know Mayweather-Conor was the biggest of all time. Mayweather-Canelo is up there. So just being in that business on some of the, not just in boxing, but in sports, some of the biggest events of all time. That has to be something that you look back at fondly, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's no exaggeration to say those were cultural events, that they transcended certainly combat sports and sports. Mayweather-Pacquiao, Mayweather-McGregor, turned into worldwide spectacles. And of course, many people played a part in it, not the least of which the fighters. But knowing that our team and myself personally played a role, again, it is definitely a point of pride.
And when we have build-ups for these big events, right, especially like Mayweather-Conor, some people are looking at there saying, what's real, what's not, and you had to face some of the backlash from Conor fans. Right. So what was that like for you to deal with? First of all, was that real, the animosity there from Conor towards you, and what was that like to deal with?
It was absolutely real. It wasn't as if, backstage, you ever winked at me or you patted me in the shoulder. And it's a little bit strange because, on a press tour, as you're constantly sort of rubbing shoulders, whether it's at the airport or the hotel. The only time that you see each other is not just on stage. You're seeing each other for those several days. So, no, at no point was there ever a wink or anything like that. I'm not sure where it came from, quite honestly, but I think he threw it out there and it got a reaction from the audience, and he's all about engaging. So it continued. It wasn't, never set out to be a talking point on the press tour. Never was my goal. I wasn't looking to play the Vince McMahon role. But you deal the cards that you were played, and if it added to some of the spectacle of it, then so be it.
So here's the real question: why did you turn his mic off? I'm sure that it's just hilarious to me because someone with the amount of work that you have to do for these things, the fact that you'd be in the back adjusting mics is kind of ridiculous.
That's the funny thing. That's the great conspiracy theory there, and having the experience that you do, you understand sometimes these press events come together at a moment's notice, and the first stop or two, or in some cases all of them, aren't always the most smoothest running operation. So, no, to think that I was the wizard behind the curtain, with the kill switch on the mic, it's sort of devious. I wish I'd been smart enough to think of that.
So we'll wrap it up soon because I think we're getting underway here. But final question: a lot obviously has been made about PBC and Fox Sports, and that's the $1 million question for everyone. Is we saw what happened to HBO, and they say Bob Arum had the theory that premium cable networks maybe can't sustain boxing because it's more of a one-night thing, and we see a lot of boxing going to Fox. So your response as the head of Showtime, we had the Tank Davis and we got Clarissa Shields. So what is your response?
Well, my direct response is Bob doesn't know nearly as much about our business as he thinks he does. I can't speak to HBO. It was not a simple situation. I'm confident in saying that. There were a number of factors. And Bob tends to, speak on behalf of whoever his dance partner is at the current time. So he's with ESPN. He's going to trash everyone else. The reality is boxing still does significant business for us. It's a driver of viewership. It's a driver of our business. It's a driver of subscriptions. And that's demonstrable over a number of different metrics. And as long as that continues to be the case, we will be in the boxing business. We've been in it for 35 years. The fact that 2019 there's some new competitors and there's some transition in the market doesn't mean we're getting out of it. And in fact, I think there is strength in the fact that you are programming boxing among a entertainment network, whether it's Fox or Showtime. It gives us the ability to reach non-sports fans, which is something that obviously an all-sports network does not do. So there are pluses and minuses on both sides. But the one thing I can say from confidence is, we didn't get out of boxing when they said we were a year ago. We didn't get out of boxing at the end of 2019 when they said we were. No plans to get out of boxing, and we're expecting to be, for 2020, to be as strong as ever.
Well, there you have it. The landscape in boxing is shifting, but Showtime Sports is strong, starting the year off strong. January 10th from Atlantic City, we have Clarissa Shields versus Ivana Habazin. Steven Espinoza, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
That is Steven Espinoza, head of Showtime Sports. As we mentioned, the card, Danny Garcia versus Ivan Redkach, is on Showtime. So, we spoke to Angel Garcia, who's the trainer and father of Danny Garcia. Now we are speaking to Danny Garcia's opponent, and that is Ivan Redkach.
Curran Bhatia at Barclays Center. I'm here with Ivan Redkach. Ivan, you're 3-0 in your last 3 fights. You're undefeated this year, but you have the assignment now of Danny Garcia. So how are you going to take on Danny Garcia?
Я тренируюсь очень упорно, очень тяжело, и для меня это бой мечта.
I'm training very hard. This fight's very important for me.
So Danny Garcia was originally supposed to fight Errol Spence, and Errol Spence we know was in a car accident. When did you first get the call that you would have this opportunity?
Garcia сначала.
Месяц назад.
I found out about a month ago.
And fighting in New York, fighting in Barclays Center, it's a main event. How important is this for your career? You know, you've had a couple setbacks and you've come back from them. How important is this moment for your career?
Lots of New York и такой большой бой.
Для меня это будет очень крутое шоу, потому что здесь будет неимоверная энергетика, и здесь будет весь красивый бокс 25 января.
I'm really excited. It's going to be a great fight because the energy in the building is going to be great, and because of that, we're going to put on a great show on January 25th.
And your opponent, Danny Garcia, he had criticism early in his career for kind of cherry-picking fights, but then he did step up. What do you think about him stylistically? We know he's got the big left hook. He knocks a lot of people out. How do you think you'll match up stylistically with him?
Его стиль очень хороший, он очень хороший боец. Я принял этот вызов. Это смелый его выбор, что он выбрал меня, поэтому я буду готов на 100%. Все, что он предоставит мне в ринге, я найду противодействие.
He actually has a great style, and I followed his career, and he's a very tough fighter. But what we're going to do in the gym is to prepare for whatever he brings on January 25th. I'm going to have an answer for it.
And final question, we see what you got here. You got the suit, but then the pink hair. So you're obviously expressing yourself. What's the statement that you're trying to make with your look?
Вы одели красивый костюм и розовые волосы. Почему вы так одели?
У меня настроение хорошее.
This is my mood. I'm actually in a good mood right now.
И это будет также 25 января.
And I'm going to be in a good mood on January 25th.
And actually, last thing, I know that on the podium they asked you how you're going to win this fight, and you said it in English. And so can we hear that one more time? What's your prediction?
Knock him out? For sure.
First round?
No, for sure.
For sure, you're going to knock him out, for sure.
It's my camp visualization for knock him out.
You're visualizing knocking him out. Okay. Ivan Redkach, best of luck to you on January 25th against Danny Garcia.
Thank you so much.
There is Ivan Redkach. He's in the main event. Now on the undercard is Stephen Fulton, a.k.a. Cool Boy Steph. 25 years old, 17-0. He's trying to make a splash. He wants people to know his name, and he's going to have an opportunity to do that. So here is my conversation with Stephen Fulton.
I am Curran Bhatia here in Barclays Center. I'm here with Stephen Fulton, undefeated, 17-0, 8 KOs, and now you're hitting the big stage on Showtime on January 25th. So what does that mean for you to be on this stage?
It's pretty normal to me. You know, my life is a big stage. You know, I've been on big stages before. You know, I've traveled to Russia, Italy, and fought against them in their country, you know, at a higher stage. So it's nothing new to me. It's normal. I look at everything as normal. You overthink things too much, things may go wrong.
And they call you Cool Boy Steph? Is that right? So why do they call you Cool Boy Steph?
I mean, the way I carry myself, I try to be cool, you know, and that's how I carry myself in the ring. I'm cool and calm. If you watch my fights, you'll see I'm very calm. While everybody else is trying to be all fast and sharp in the early rounds, I'm just cool, take my time and cool, calm, and collect.
And you are undefeated, like we said. Your opponent on January 25th is undefeated as well, but you're used to fighting undefeated fighters, right?
Yes, nothing new. This will be the 7th undefeated fighter.
And you've got the swag, like we said. Now, that can either go one or two ways. You got the Floyd Mayweather style, you know, with the money, but he's been successful. There's also been like an Adrian Broner, where it's like you see flashy, but then in terms of can they back it up in the ring, right? Are you thinking about that at all in terms of your persona outside of the ring?
No, I'm honestly a people's champ. I'm not. Yeah, money is good, but what is money if you're not going to help your people with it? Not saying anything bad towards Floyd or anybody else though, but I'm trying to be a people's champ, not just a world titleist or something like that. I'm trying to be the people's champ. I want the people to love me and embrace me. I would like to embrace my people as well.
So you plan to give back to people?
A lot, yes.
And you're from Philly. Your last fight was in Texas, but now you're back in the Northeast in New York, so you're going to have a lot of fans and supporters coming out for you, right?
Well, in West Philadelphia, to be exact, yes.
Born and raised?
Yes. Yes.
And you and Danny Garcia, he's also from Philly. So did you guys have a relationship coming up the ranks?
Oh no, yeah. And this is before he, like he said on the podium there. This is before I was pro and before he was pro. When he was amateur, he knew me since I was a youngin, since I first started. So there's a lot of history around. He's been a good guy, No, I don't see anybody in Philadelphia that can say one bad thing about him, and likewise about me.
And we know, like we said, you're undefeated. You're getting this opportunity on Showtime. So what are your goals overall in the sport? What do you hope to achieve?
I mean, I want to be undisputed at this weight class, but it's deeper than boxing for me. Boxing is not where it ends for me. I have businesses on the outside of boxing. I have a crab spot that I'm opening now. I have an auto inspection shop. So it's deeper than boxing for me. But in the boxing aspect of it, I would like to become undisputed at this weight class. And I would like to move up to 26 and take over that division, because I don't believe nobody in that division can mess with me.
And last question, tell people why they should tune in on January 25th, why they should come to the Barclays Center.
You should tune in to watch me perform, watch Danny Garcia perform, watch Jared Hurd perform. It's going to be a hell of a show. January 25th at the Barclays Center, man. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster. On Showtime.
Stephen Fulton knows how to sell a fight. He's a rising star in our sport. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah.
That was Stephen Fulton, up-and-comer in our sport, and I'm sure he has a bright future ahead. So now let's get to my last guest. It is Joseph Janek, a.k.a. Coach Haas. Now he was the trainer for Andrew Cancio, who was dropped from his promotional company after his loss. We all know Andrew Cancio's story. He has to work at the gas station, even as a world champion, to get health benefits for his family, to support his family. But he has recently signed with a new promoter, and it looks like he is back on track. So I'm going to talk to his coach, Joseph Janek. Now, Coach Haas, a.k.a. Joseph Janek, is also training Francisco Santana, who is also fighting at Barclays Center on January 25th. He's taking on Jared Hurd. So we're going to talk to Coach Haas about the game plan there. So here is my conversation with Coach Haas, a.k.a. Joseph Janek.
Curran Bhatia at Barclays Center. I'm here with Coach Haas, a.k.a. Joseph Janek. So you got Francisco Santana against Jared Hurd on January 25th. I wanted to first ask you, though, about you were training Andrew Cancio.
Yes.
And we know that Cancio, he had 2 jobs to support his family, and he ended up losing his most recent fight, and Golden Boy actually cut him. So what can you tell us a little bit about that situation?
Yeah, it was a tough night. We had a real great training camp. Things were going real well. Felt like we had a solid shot. I thought we were going to do well against Rene. And after the first round, he told me he just felt like he couldn't get going. Felt like he was slow. Felt like he was weak. Said he felt like he was a couple steps behind of Rene. And I said, all right, let's give it a couple rounds and see how we feel. And he just couldn't get going, so I didn't see any need to let it keep going any longer. I didn't think the outcome was going to be any different. We'll live to fight another day. And then the next 48 hours, Golden Boy decided they didn't really have a spot for us on the roster, and they let us go. So, but we're doing good. There's some interest out there from some of the other big promoters right now, so we're kind of shopping around those deals with Andrew, and we'll probably make a decision within the next 10 days or so.
And is there more to that than just he lost the fight, right? I mean, this is a guy, he was the champion, and he was such a likable guy. Is there more to that story? I mean, how did they just let him go like that?
I think the backstory is probably some of the interviews he was doing during the week, voicing his personal displeasure with maybe the amount of money he was getting paid as compared to some other guys in the division. And I think had we won the fight, I think we would have been able to iron out our differences, and the relationship would have continued. Purses would have got better, and everything would have been good. But I think it was kind of a statement for them. Hey, you know what? We're the boss. You work for us. And we're the ones that decide how much you get paid, and you take it or leave it. And they decided to make him leave it.
Well, let's hope that he can find a new home. He's certainly a great person and a good fighter. So the other fighter that you worked with for a long time is Victor Ortiz. His last fight was in February of 2018. It was a draw against Devin Alexander. So where is Victor Ortiz right now? What's the latest? What can you tell us?
He's having some outside of the ring issues going on right now. Hopefully those will be resolved pretty soon. And then hopefully he'll be back in the gym. He's still living in Ventura. Actually, I shouldn't say still. He moved back from Tarzana. He's up in Ventura. He's been going down and working a little bit with Freddie Roach at Wild Card, so we'll see where he decides to go from here. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him back in the ring in the next 6 months.
And on January 25th, you have Francisco Santana, and he's taking on Jared Hurd. Now, that's going to be a tough assignment. We know Jared Hurd had the loss, but he seems motivated. He's got a new trainer, and he's obviously a tough fighter. So what's the game plan against Hurd?
I think what you have to do against Jared is try to make him uncomfortable. He's a very large human being. He's big for 154. He's probably a good 4 inches taller than us. Chia really doesn't usually give up reach to anybody, and I think we'll give up a little bit of reach. But the things that people are kind of forgetting is we fought Charlo. We lost to Charlo, but we hurt Charlo in the fight, and we have a draw with Julian Williams. So if we go off common opponents, we have a draw with Williams, and Williams beat him. And Williams was a tough fight. He was a tough guy. It was early in both of our careers. So I guess the dream would be to go in there and have a career-defining performance, really make Jared work for those 10 rounds, and then hopefully get a shot at Julian for the title again.
And Santana's fought about once a year, so he hasn't been as active as he could be. If he is able to get past Hurd, are we going to see him be a little bit more active?
Yeah, we would like to keep him more active. You know, unfortunately, sometimes you got to win a fight here or there, and that would put you right in a good spot, and then you lose a close decision in a fight, and then you get shelved for a little while. And we had some potential stuff coming up now, but when they called with this opportunity, Chia said, you know what, you can't pass this up. This is an opportunity to fight the number 1 ranked guy in the division, one division ahead of me, and I've fought in that division before, and I want it, Coach. So if you think we have a good shot, let's go up and get it.
Coach Haas, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for filling us in on what's going on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you guys January 25th.
January 25th on Showtime. It's Jared Hurd versus Francisco Santana.
And that will bring us to the end here. I want to thank you so much for listening. I want to thank all of my guests, and that is Angel Garcia, Steven Espinoza, Ivan Redkach, Stephen Fulton, Coach Haas, a.k.a. Joseph Janik. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Thank you, everyone who listened. If you want to follow us, you can follow at ATE_podcast. That's on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow my personal channels, it's at CurranBhatia on Instagram and Twitter. That's at Curran Bhatia on Instagram and Twitter. Please subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/Curran Bhatia. Please check out our show on iTunes. Hit subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. If you want to email the show, it's asktheexpertspod@gmail.com. Thank you so much. One more time, enjoy the boxing this weekend, and I will be back soon with another episode. This is Curran Bhatia signing off for Ask the Experts.
Thank you for listening to Ask the Experts with Curran Bhatia.